I'm Darren Levine and this is D-Tech. Today I want to show you this, the 2017 Amazon Fire TV. And the first thing you'll notice is that it's actually quite small. One of the first things I was concerned about is the size of it, because in the pictures online it actually looks quite large. If you have the Amazon set-top box, it is absolutely tiny compared to it. It's actually not much more volume overall than the Fire TV stick. Still certainly bigger, but not much overall. So if you're not familiar with these types of devices, basically they're all the same type of thing. They add app functionality to your TV to make it a smart TV. Now, one of the differences between these and say an Apple TV or a Roku is mostly the app selection. Now with either of them, just keep in mind it's not quite the same app store as you'll see on your phones, because these are all apps built specifically for TVs. So what is new with the 2017 Fire TV? A couple of things. There's HDR support if you have an HDR TV. There's also 4K support if you have a 4K TV. There's also Dolby Atmos support, Atmos, however you pronounce it, if you have a compatible surround sound system. Now, if you don't have any of those things, I still recommend you get the stick, because the stick is more affordable and it really offers you all the same functionality aside from what I just mentioned. It of course doesn't do 4K, but again, if you don't have a 4K TV, you don't get to use that anyways. However, if you are looking to upgrade soon or in the near future, then it might be worth spending the extra couple of bucks, or I think it's about $30 or so difference, to get this fella. Now, what about the set-top box? Interestingly, I just checked Amazon's site and it seems that they're not making this anymore. It says currently unavailable and it points you to this one. So either they're making a new one of these, or they're really just gonna push for this one to be their flagship model. The main difference you get, other than a seemingly more robust CPU and a dedicated graphics chip, is all these connections on the back. You don't have any other connections for the 2017 model. You just have, of course, HDMI and the power cable. They did actually announce they're gonna have a adapter where you can have a wired Ethernet port, but this one has that built right in, along with a microsd card slot to expand your storage if you download lots of apps, as well as a USB port to add a whole bunch of different types of devices, such as game controllers, other adapters, and whatever you might have. So really, I use all three of these now in the house for different purposes. For my kitchen TV, I use the stick. For my big screen TV, I use the set-top box. I like to plug in, I have an Xbox-style game controller I can plug into the USB port. And for the living room, I'm now trying out this new 2017 Fire TV dongle, because that TV does have 4K, so I want something more than just the stick. This seems like the perfect solution for that. So I really like having these three different choices, so I hope they do come out with a new version of the set-top box. But in the meantime, my recommendation is still to go with the stick unless you specifically have need or foresee a future need for the extra features available to this little fella. One other thing to note is the powering of these devices. So they have a little micro USB port, and if you have a USB port on the TV, it may be able to use that, but when I plugged this one into my TV's USB port, it let me know it wasn't powerful enough, so I had to plug it directly in. So that's a little tidbit you should keep in mind. And if you're having issues or it's acting weird, that would be the first thing to look into, is plugging it directly into its own power adapter versus into any other type of USB port. Now there's one other thing to note that applies to the entire line of Fire TV. The Fire TV voice remote, they had an older remote which didn't have this, but it looks like they phased that out. So the voice remote, where you can just press and hold the button and speak to it and say, play this, play that, is actually getting quite useful. Originally it was kind of limited, but now it's able to access more information, and it's actually fully integrated now with the whole Alexa functionality, which is the set-top box where you just speak to it and turn off lights and play music and all that. You can now do much of the same with this. So that is pretty much it for the Amazon 2017 Fire TV device. If you found this information helpful, useful, what have you, click that subscribe button. It certainly helps me out that you can keep in touch and see what else I come out with. So I'm Darren Levine. This has been D-Tech, Amazon Fire TV 2017.